But anyway, the program was a brainchild of a young man back in 1933 by the name of Myron Scott. He was from Dayton, Ohio. He was a newspaper man. And he was walking, you know, that's in the depths of the Depression.
Right.
So he was walking through the city, and he saw about 5 or 6 kids racing homemade carts down a hill. And he was also a very innovative person. And what happened is he stood there and he thought about it for a minute. But back then there weren't a lot of things for kids to do. There weren't a lot of things for anybody to do. Nobody had the money. So anyway, he started to think, and he watched them for a while. And when they were done, he went up to them and he said, "Hey," he said, "why don't you come back with some of your friends next week?" He says, "and we'll have a little race. And I'll give a prize." Well, you know, the next week came, he got about 19, 20 kids. And they had their race. Now the juices started to flow with this guy. He really started to put some thoughts together on it. So what he did, he went back. Now, I don't know what the time frame was this year. But he went back to his newspaper and he talked to his editor into giving him a couple $100, which was millions today.
A lot of money back then.
A couple $100 to put a race on for the kids. So they invited in August, sometime in August, they invited through the paper and everything. Kids, bring your carts to Burkhardt Hill, and we'll have a race and we'll give prizes. Well, to their amazement, about 460 some odd kids showed up. And now you have to understand, Burkhardt Hill was just a neighborhood hill. You know, there were people who lived there that after this day was over, they had no more lawns because thousands of people came along with these kids to watch this thing.
Right.
You know, they had never seen it before. They had all these homemade carts, and they had a race. Well, he looked at this, and now the juices are really flowing. You know, he goes back. Again, I don't know the time frame, but it had to be pretty quick. And he put together an article in a newspaper type of magazine that went to newspapers all over the country. And he floated the idea to him, and he said, you know, if you decide to do this, contact me, and we'll put something together here. You have a race in your city like we just had here, then you bring your winners to Dayton, Ohio, and we'll have a runoff. Okay, now other things were happening in the meantime. But anyway, it just so happened in 1934, which was the first Olympiad, there were 34 cities, just coincidental, that signed up to do this. And he did that. He brought them to Dayton. They had their first runoff, that was really the home of the first All-American Softbox Derby. Now, in the meantime, they had a connection with a company by the name of Campbell Ewald. Now, Campbell Ewald is a big marketing firm. It was General Motors and Chevy's division's marketing firm until they went out of it. Probably still is today, now that they've been bailed out and everything and they're doing much better. But he got together with this group. They got him an audience with the bigwigs at Chevy. They went to Detroit, and Chevy says, "Who'll sponsor this thing?" So now they had a big sponsor. Now they said, "How the hell did we get to Akron?" Well, you know what you had? They gave excuses like it's it's a hillier terrain, and and I've been in Dayton. There aren't any more hills here. But anyway, the people on Burkhardt Hill, I don't think they're too happy. They're too glad or too sad to see it leave. So anyway, they talked them into moving it to Akron with the promise that they would build a hill for the Derby and they would do all these other things. But part of the deal was I'm sure that the 4 international offices of the major rubber companies sat here in Akron. Okay, you had Goodyear, Goodrich, Firestone, General. You had them all right here within a half a mile of each other. And who buys more tires? Now, General Motors at that time was the largest corporation in the world. Who buys more tires than the largest corporation in the world? So they became involved. So when they moved it to Akron the first year, they ran it on Talmadge, well, we call it Talmadge Hill. It was just another city street out there. And then 35, that was for the second All-American. Now, for that race, you probably wouldn't, I don't know whether any of you would remember this thing because he died many, many years ago, but there was probably one of the greatest newscasters, sports newscasters in the country, Graham McNamee. And he came to announce a race on Talmadge Hill. And he decided, they had put a bridge and everything across the road, and he decided to come down and announce from trackside. Well, he went down to announce from trackside, and the kid lost control of the car, ran over and put him in a hospital for a week. So all over the country, because of his prominence, there were stories about Graham McNamee. Now, everybody knew who Graham McNamee was, but they didn't know what a soapbox derby was. You know, he's in Akron, Ohio, gets run down by a soapbox derby. So anyway, that really helped to sort of put it on the map too. Then in 1936, through the WPA program, during the Depression, they built this hill and the Rubber Bowl. They started the Rubber Bowl there. The hill was, of course, completed first, and that was for the 1936 race. The Rubber Bowl wasn't really completed until about 1940. So anyway, they moved it out here, and they ran the race in 1936, and the All-American has run on this hill every year since then, with the exception of the full World War II year. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the Derby announced that they would no longer, for the duration of the war, there would be no soapbox derby. But then in 1946, see, Whitey was here. He knows all this stuff. In 1946, then they started it up again, and so that's why there's a difference between the actual age of the Derby and the number of races. So, you know, and things really started to grow. You know, of course, now Chevy, you have to understand, when Chevy, you know, they sponsored this thing for 35 years, and to give you an example of what they put into this program, Chevy would put in probably, I know in the 60s, they put $1 million to $1.3 million into this program, okay? Now, you compute that to today's dollar, you're probably talking $10 million. You even give a dummy like me that kind of money, show you a trick, you know. But anyway, you know, and then you know, of course, when Chevy was here, we used to get the celebrities because you know, we had like the Bonanza crew and you know, Abbott Costello. You know, we could tell you stories about those things. But what most people really didn't realize is all of these people they brought, and most of them, were under contract to Chevrolet. They sponsored their shows, and as you know, when you sponsor a show, they have to give you so much time to make so many appearances. And but we, and at that time, I retired from the sheriff's office before I came here as the executive director. And my job during Derby, I was in charge of the escort and security for all the stars.